In any life, we have highs and lows, light and dark, wins and losses. What happens when we encounter that moment in time when what happens next could change everything? Join us as we step into another person's inspirational moment and see how we can connect their experience to ours. This is Greg Stevens, and you're listening to A Shot of Inspiration. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Shot of Inspiration. I'm Greg Stevens, your host. I'm excited. This week's guest is someone I've met recently in the past year and has made a huge difference in my life because engaging with Chris Williams, he has a company called Group Coach Nation. He helps people start masterminds and he works with people all over the world. I found my relationship with Chris has grown, and when I first met him, I thought he was interesting and I wasn't quite sure about this mastermind piece, but I realized I've been coaching for years and I've been training for years. And a combination of coaching and training is what my mastermind is all about. And I've gotten a chance to go out and start working with executives that I was already working with executives, but now I've got a place for executives to come and work together. And then one of the things I find about masterminds, coaching can be very slow, but doing a mastermind is a group coaching program, but everyone gets to participate and gives a valuable insight. But what I've also find, I give people homework on each one because mine's a breakthrough mastermind, having people have those aha moments. And what's interesting is some of the people come back that haven't done their homework and they hear some of the others, the results they've gotten. They don't miss their homework after that. All of a sudden, they're in the game. They're not just saying, this is something I'm going to do. They're on the court playing and finding the results that they want. So, Chris, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Greg, oh my gosh, this is really fun for me because we've been able to hang out so much over the past year. I know you so well now, and then to be here having a conversation in public about everything you're doing and all the people you're helping, I'm just thrilled to be here. Just hearing a second ago about one of your mastermind members who you just had an enormous impact in their life, and just hearing what that person's expressed to you and how that's changed their life, that it's just so inspiring. Thank you for giving to so many people.
Thanks. Thanks. You gave me another outlet. I love training. I love coaching, but it's like putting chocolate and peanut butter together. I love Reese's and Snickers so much more than just the one. It's something I've gotten a lot of energy around. And all this started coming around when I decided to have the podcast. So I have had so many irons in the fire. I've been juggling a lot. I just can't wait till I get everything completely in the air and let it start taking over some for itself.
That's for sure. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Dude, this is great fun. Let's break some stuff down, man. Let's dive in.
You've been an inspiration for me. So what is or some of your inspiring moments? Why have you picked entrepreneurship? What is it about entrepreneurship that's pulled you in and pulled you in the direction you're going? And along that same theme, what is inspiring to you around being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Is this video or audio only on your show?
It's video and audio.
Video and audio. Okay. This is so simple. So for me, like what's inspiring me is really straightforward. I love time freedom. I don't know how else to say that, but time freedom is what works for me. And the crazy thing about time freedom is, and I know some people talk about having time freedom. The crazy thing about that is it takes often some resources, some money to either make time freedom happen or to enjoy the time freedom you have in a unique way. So time freedom and financial freedom have become a big theme for me. And that's like, well, sure, Chris, everybody said that, but no, for real. Because for me to like volunteer at a nonprofit in our town, for me to be able to go do like stuff and pick kids up from school after their school day, that doesn't just require time. It requires a structure and a business and being able to pay people and lots of things around being an entrepreneur, as we all know, all of you folks listening in, it's that stuff that matters. So for me, sharing my screen real quick, this is what matters to me. If you're just listening in, there's a collage of just me and my family doing the stuff we do all over the world, traveling, playing, educating, serving, just doing the stuff we do. But these people on screen, every face, every foot, every smiling fun picture, these are the reasons for me. And I don't know a simpler way to say that, Greg. This is why I do what I do. People often say, "Oh, it's because it's inspiring and I want to impact a bigger community and I want to leave a legacy." Man, there's nobody else in the world that I want to leave a legacy for except for these people first. And then everything else comes after that, right? Your spouse, partner, your loved ones, the close people in your family, then your closest friends, then maybe a couple of business colleagues you really have grown close with, and then a little bit of a bigger community after that. There's these concentric circles that kind of go out from our lives, right? And those are the ones that are at the core. And I guess once they're all at the house in a few years, I'll miss them and we'll shift to a different gear. But that's for me, that's where it's at. My world is built around a school day. I don't know how it really is.
No, I love that because I've been single for a long time and I love training. I was on the road training, doing what I want to make a difference that way because I have no kids. And then during COVID, I got married. And it's interesting because all my travel stopped and now traveling starting again. And that's one of the things I love about having the mastermind because I can do it from Zoom and be with my wife. Our goal is to go somewhere in the world for 3 months and live there, and then come back for 3 months, and then go somewhere for 3 months and come back, and go explore, go enjoy that, but I haven't had that peace for me until
Uh-huh.
recently.
I think that's such a great different life example because no matter where you are in your relationship sets, we all have people and communities around us and the ones you want to invest in are where it's at. And I'm going to show the screen one more time because
Yeah,
you just brought something up really cool. This picture right down here in the bottom, there's a picture of kind of a rainy day, this infinity pool going off into the ocean. That's the Atlantic Ocean behind us. We're up on kind of a mountain cliff in Caribbean island looking out to the Atlantic. That picture, the one up here in the top left-hand corner, it's the Greek Isles with a palm tree and a little balcony looking out the house with the teal on it. For those of you listening in, these are really great pictures, right?
they are.
Top middle, another infinity pool shop. All these locations, the one in the middle with my family all standing around like the castles, that's in Scotland. I think there's a White House down here in the bottom
Yeah,
corner.
down
All of
left.
these locations, I led masterminds from. So all we do, Greg, and everybody listening in, all we do is teach experts how to build masterminds, high ticket mastermind group coaching programs. I have led masterminds from all of these locations looking around here. And that's super cool to me because my work doesn't require that much of my time and it's completely untethered from a location.
That's
And
awesome.
wow, is that nice?
Yeah. Well, to get there, I know you had to go through some hardships. I think every entrepreneur, any person's gonna go through hardship. I think as an entrepreneur, you take on a different view. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable many times. You push that comfort zone so often. Let's talk about some of the hardships you've had to endure to try to get to where you are to have that kind of life.
So I think it's important to be just like super honest about this because so many people sell this great life or this dream and they don't really go into what it takes to get there, right? And anybody who's done something really amazing will tell you that it's kind of a shit show getting there. I don't know how else to say it. It is what it
I
is.
agree. Yep.
And I'm not saying I've done something amazing. I'm saying to get anywhere that's the next step better than where you are today is going to be a mess and it's going to be work and then it's going to get better. And it might go back and forth and mess and better a lot. So for me, and I find this really common, by the way, I'm ADHD. I'm a child abuse survivor. My family was pretty fucked up when I was a kid. And the entrepreneurial journey itself and just the patterns I have in my own life have been a lot of losses and some wins. Okay. Those things, not maybe not the child abuse side of things, but something traumatic in your life, a relationship, a past where you were raised, whatever. Those things are really common among entrepreneurs. They're really common among high end leaders, and they're really common among high performing anybody, athletes, leaders, physicians, actors, whatever. There's something unfortunately great about the books that we pull off of the bookshelf of life. Some of those books we chose to put there, we're like, that's a book I love. I'm so glad I got to read that. Some were just like pre-built into the bookshelf and you got to freaking read them. And that might be an abusive situation. It might be choices you made to get into chemical abuse and then getting back out in life. It might be a relationship that's been won or lost in our lives, whatever. All those things for whatever scenario we have in our lives those are books that we choose or don't choose, but they're on the bookshelf and we've been through 'em. I would never, looking back at my life, for instance, let's talk child abuse. I would never pull that book off of this shelf today or when I was a kid intentionally and go through that story. That's horrible. And yet, looking back now, that book is closed, and I've been able to put that book back on the shelf and say, that is part of my history. That made me something. It impacted my life in some very negative ways, but the healing and the growth that's come from that through lots of, again, good therapy and friends and relationships around me helping me has made me someone that I would never be if it wasn't for that dark story. And I guess getting into entrepreneurship, Greg, is it's a hard road sometimes. Leadership in a large corporation is a hard road. Getting into acting, getting into professional athletics, getting into all these things that are like really next level productions in your life, they require a ridiculous amount of determination. They require an insane amount of attention to detail and willingness to jump off cliffs at the same time.
Yeah.
They require a lot of intentionality around who you're learning from, how you're learning, and do you have the capacity to put A and B together to get C. A lot of those skill sets come from the hard times in our life. And like right now, talking about that, I'm not even tearful or emotional about it, which is actually kind of cool. Sometimes I really tear up when I talk about this stuff, but it's cool because I can see it for what it is. It is a piece of my past, and it's also the healing of that has been an investment in my present and a bridge to my future.
That's one of the things I love about you, that one of the things that pulled me in, because when we first sat down and talked, just you and I, we did both talk about this. I came from a family of physical abuse, not sexual, but a physical abuse, same type of mental hardness that kind of as a child doesn't understand. But I took that on, and those are some of my crown jewels now because they don't control me, I control them now. And
Mhm.
like you said, I don't tear up about them because I know that they made me who I am. That struggle shined me up. It made me sharp. It had me do things that most people wouldn't do, like be on my own at 17 and put myself through college, doing a lot of things. And what you're doing now, how you've gone through different careers, things like that, all of that, to have the family you have and have the life you had, all that kind of fell into place if you can understand how to engage with it. It does take time. It does take healing. But I do find that there is healing, and sometimes it doesn't come in the form or the hope we wished it would have. But what I find as time goes on, it's probably exactly what we need for the next step.
That's so true. A
Yeah.
any of you listening in or watching us, I wish I could just talk to you and hear what you're saying and thinking right now. If you're struggling with something, if it's a relationship, if it's choices you've made and you're kinda wishing you hadn't, if it's something that happened in your past that wasn't your fault, whatever it is, go get help. It's so worth it. I'm not one of these people who's gonna be here and be like, "Look, if you're currently suicidal like I was," I'm not gonna be one of those people who's like, "Oh, it's gonna be better. It's gonna be a story. It's gonna be fine." Oh my gosh, you're in the shit right now. I get it. Like, it's okay to acknowledge where you are and fully be there because that's where you are.
Yeah.
Find someone that's a professional, that's talked to other people that've been through your scenario, which I promise there's thousands and thousands who've been through your scenario. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Any of you listening in or watching us, I wish I could just talk to you and hear what you're saying and thinking right now. If you're struggling with something, if it's a relationship, if it's choices you've made and you're wishing you hadn't, if it's something that happened in your past that wasn't your fault, whatever it is, go get help. It's so worth it. I'm not one of these people who's going to be here and be like, look, if you're currently suicidal like I was, I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh, it's going to be better. It's going to be a story. It's going to be fine. Oh my gosh, you're in the shit right now. I get it. Like, it's okay to acknowledge where you are and fully be there because that's where you are.
Yeah.
Find someone that's a professional, that's talked to other people that've been through your scenario, which I promise there's thousands and thousands who've been through your scenario. You're not alone.
Yeah. That's one thing. When I was thinking about doing the same thing, suicide, I realized I didn't want to die. I just wanted the pain to be gone. I
Yeah.
think that's what most people struggle with, and they don't see an end. but there is an end, and it will get better, and it will get worse, and it will get better. That's one of the things as you start to engage with that, you understand life is a struggle, but it's not always the struggle you might be going through right now. And
So true.
yeah, it really does.
Mm.
So tell me a little about your family first, then I wanna talk about your business. I think it's important, folks, if you wanna grow something, you have expertise in something, Chris can help you move toward helping others, and that's what I see that Chris does. He helps you find your genius, go out there and help others with it. I wanna hear a little about your family, if that's okay.
Totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jill and I have 5 kids. Jill and I have been together since we were 17, and we're not 17 anymore. We have 5 kids, and they're amazing, and, like, they're 15 to 22 now. I just love our kids. Oh my gosh, they're in this zone now where it's just, like, super fun. You can travel everywhere with them, and they can do everything, and you lose a kid on the subway, it's not the end of the world. They're gonna find their way home. So, that's a nice place to be. But so much of the business, so much of the therapy, so much of healing from the past, so much of getting into adventure sports or doing shark diving around the world or whatever we're doing, so much of that honestly came from just a love of people. The 5 kids we have, Jill and I loving hanging out with each other, and then our communities that we're able to be part of when we're out and about. And so when I talk about family or friends, it is like interconnected to the business and interconnected to the lifestyle and all that stuff. I don't mean take your picture in front of Ferraris and have 3 mansions. If that's your thing, have fun. I'm just saying that's not my jam. But like the daily choices I make in my life are built intentionally. I think that's where I'm trying to go here. The choice to wake up and work out this morning, the fact that I'm drinking this is I'm holding a Starbucks cup here. I just reused my tea Starbucks, and now there's, like, red berry juice in there, some fresh juice. Why not use the same Star the fact that I'm drinking that crappy red juice, things like that are, like, lifestyle choices that I'm making not because I want to be, quote, unquote, "healthy" or successful or well-traveled. Those are the steps I'm taking to build the depth in communities that I wanna be involved in.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, Greg. You and I both, because we work in successful fields, we see a lot of people, successful or unsuccessful, we see a lot of people who get distracted by the things and by the Instagram reel bragging. That could be a vacation or it could be a car, it could be a new whatever, or hanging out with so and so celebrity, whatever it is. But the thing that really like enriches us as humans that means something at 2 a.m. when we're laying there alone in our bed, those things are typically not what you buy or who you get on your Instagram reel. It's really not. It's the relationships.
It is.
And you're so freaking good at advising on that. So you ripped on that. That's your jam, Greg. How do you stay away? Because we all love new fun things. We all love going to cool locations. How do you stay away personally from not those things aren't bad, but from getting stuck in those things
Mhm.
and distracted from the things that mean the most to you? How do you do that?
Well, I think for me, I played with all those things for a while, and I found that they never delivered anything of real depth. They're fun, but they're not peaceful. I'd trade peace any day for fun because fun is out there, but it's a drug. There's a high with it, and there's going to be a come down with it. With peace, there's that steady, you can't describe it. When you are living in that flow of life, you attract so much more.
Mhm.
You actually, can lay your head on your pillow and be completely, feel free rather than bound by all the stuff I've gotta get done to do XYZ, to earn this, to do that, to show everyone else. Because 'cause you'd be amazed at how little people ever think about you. I tell people all the time, "You won't go home tonight and put your head on your pillow and think about me and my problems. If you do, you're kinda weird." You're gonna be thinking about you and your problems, and that's just it. The world's not looking at you. They're looking at themselves. Everyone's kinda, are we connecting? I taught a class the other day. We had a listening, piece in there, and people afterwards were just connected, and it was a 6-minute exercise, and someone asked me, "Why do you think that's so powerful? Has it always been that way? Or you think it's just new because we're doing this?" And it hit me, and I was like, what came out, I wasn't prepared, but it just came out of me. It said, "We do so little listening.
Mm.
We do so little of trying to understand another person's lot in life. We're wanting to put ours in there, but when we listen to someone, there's a connection that happens." And it's all in relationship. And what I'm going to say about what you're doing in life, Chris, I love because you're showing your family that they're first.
Mm.
And kids always learn what you do, not what you tell them.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth?
And you have been giving them an example of what life can be like with hard work, with taking risk, with also with priorities and showing them a path. To me, as a parent, that's what you want to do. You want to set your kids up for success. Relieving their pain isn't going to do that. You're letting them go through their pain allows them to do that. And it's a hard thing for most parents because they don't want their kids to hurt. But if you remove the pain, you remove the lesson many times.
That's so true. It's so great to hear you say that. Again, I got 5 teenager college students in there. I love interviews like this, Greg, where we get to talk it out. Because every time I listen to an interview like this from somebody else, I'm like, I appreciate you talking about the real stuff because this is what it's real, right?
Yeah.
We are in so many conversations with our kids. Some good, some bad. They're kids. They're just like me and Jill. Like they're just kids. They're humans, right? I got great kids, but we're all sorting out life. And I want to make the problems go away. And I have the capacity to make most of them go away today. But it's looking back at my own life and Jill and I looking back at like how we grew up, regardless of the family you grew up in, the things that we became strong in weren't the things someone fixed for me or Jill. They were the things that frequently somebody walked alongside me and held my hand shoulder to shoulder and said, "Hey, let's work on this together." But it wasn't fixed for me. And so I am learning with kids and with leading masterminds like you and I both do, and leading teams, my own team and other businesses' teams, leading our communities. Giving things away doesn't work. Walking hand in hand, arm with somebody and saying, "Hey, let's conquer this together."
Yeah.
That's teaching a person to fish versus giving them a fish, right?
Yeah. You're exactly right. And so, in doing that, I love that you're that kind of example for your family. Let's talk about your mastermind because it's interesting. When I first got in the mastermind, I had a sense of what I thought it would be. And I know my part, but the parts you were teaching us were the parts I didn't know. For me, it was different because I really hadn't had to look for a client since 2003. I was just scheduled and I was getting to travel the world and loving what I do. There was no reason for me to add on anything else. And then during COVID, something just told me I needed to add another business and then something else and something else. And now I've got a full plate, but I've never had to really look for a client since 2003 until this last year. And marketing and doing all of that is very different since we have the internet and all the different things, iPhones and all the different technology we have. There's a lot of process that has to go on for a mastermind to be successful. Tell people what you do to get their mastery out there so they can actually help people.
Yeah, and let me lay a little foundation here, Greg. Appreciate you bringing all that up. First of all, as we all know, it's about relationships. Any success we have in life is typically because of relationships that we have. So the question today in today's world is from two vantage points. I know I have an expertise. I know I'm good at certain things. People ask me questions about these things. They want my knowledge, my wisdom, my years of experience, whatever. All of us have that. Everybody listening in, you got that too. That's one thing. I want to help people with that. Now that gets into complicating your life because if you start saying yes to everybody you know, the relationships you have who want that information from you, eventually you'll run out of hours. It's easy to build an information based business, your knowledge and experience, high profit margins, and it's relatively simple to get started. The real rub comes when you try to scale that and get your life back. Most people actually reach out to us to build a mastermind. Like, okay, I've been doing consulting or one on one stuff, whatever. I'm stuck. Like now I've sold all my time and now I don't have any time making a ton of money, but I can't like breathe, can't do stuff, can't go on vacation. So Here's where it comes down. Scalable lead generation, prospecting, whatever you call it, scalable sales process, and a scalable delivery process. A mastermind just allows me to teach 10 to 15 people at a time.
Right.
That's it. It's scalable. The way we do sales and leads is all relational, but we just have to do it in a scalable way. And that's really hard to do with relationships. But I tell you what, the negative is that today's culture, social media, busy brained, noisy world we live in is a problem. The flip side of that is those tools make scaling relationships very simple. And you can drown the wave or you can surf the wave. The waves are going to come. Nothing you can do about that. So let's learn how to surf.
I love that. I love that because, yeah, I wasn't prepared for what all it would take because I'm not a process person. But what I loved is if you're an entrepreneur out there, I have a business partner. Her name is Jamie Bill, and she is the process person. I'm the person to get out there and teach these things. But she's put our system together. But what I love about Chris, I told him early on, I'm not going to be able to do all this. He said, no, it's for you and your business. And so Jamie was on more than I was because I'm usually out talking to people or doing things, and she's covering that business side, and she's gotten so much out of it. And it's just allowed us to focus and begin to expand our business in a way I didn't know how to, for
I
sure.
love seeing Jamie all the time. She's so
Yeah,
great.
she really is. But Chris, is there anything else inspirational you'd like to share before we sign off today? Because I always try to leave it out for my guests. What's one inspirational idea, moment, or something that someone's has been inspirational for you, a story around it?
I would say two things. One is just the quote that we say all the time in our masterminds: do work, get results. We say it all the time. I am not a fan of the hustle culture. Don't just go do more work. Do the right work. Do work, get results. Just do the right work. Now let's talk about what the right work is. If you're in business or just working on your life, working on your relationships, working on your communication, your leadership skill, whatever it is you're hanging out with Greg for, like Greg is a master at so many of those things. Learn from people like Greg. Be in Greg's mastermind, for example. Learn from what he's got going on because you're listening to this, watching this because you're determined to execute and do something bigger and better than where you currently are. Good for you. But there's so much noise. So it's so helpful to have somebody who can look into your world and say, I see you. I see where you are. You don't need to do what 90% of the others are doing. You need to make a few tweaks on you, and that will make an enormous impact for you and others around you. That's the right work. You just need to do it. The hardest part about all this is not, are you willing to do the work? It's, can you sort through it all to find the right thread to pull? And that's where I would say, go find your mentor, find your leader, find your mastermind to join, whatever it is, find your person. If you're listening to Greg, it's probably Greg for you. Find your person and lean in.
Great. Chris, thanks so much. And folks, you can find Chris at groupcoachnation.com. Isn't that right?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Groupcoachnation.com.
Yeah, and look him up. He's on podcasts all the time. He's got his own. So look him up, find out more about him. And folks, thank you so much for listening to another Shot of Inspiration. If you would, like and subscribe. I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of A Shot of Inspiration. If you like this or any of our other episodes, make sure you rate it and share it with a friend. This is Greg Stevens, and we look forward to being with you next time. Until then, be bold, be courageous, and respectfully speak your truth.